Okay.
Okay, let me read a slice from the preface of the 1830 edition. Joseph wrote this preface to explain some of this, especially the loss of the first 116 pages of manuscript. That is pages of paper, not plates.
Right.
116 pieces of paper that he had filled with writing. Martin Harris had been the scribe. And what it was, he tells us, I would inform you that I translated by the gift and power of God and caused to be written 116 pages, the which I took from the Book of Lehi, which was an account abridged from the plates of Lehi by the hand of Mormon. So we had the Book of Lehi, which Mormon had abridged, which was on you've got the book of this part here.
Yeah, it was on the plates of Mormon.
Okay. We no longer have that. This replaces it.
So then, am I right from what you're saying, that the Book of Lehi that was lost contained more than just Lehi's writings, or an abridgment of Lehi's writings?
Well, I would say that the 116 pages that were lost contained more than just an abridgment.
It contained from Lehi down to the commencement of the reign of King Benjamin, which is several hundred years of history. It contained the secular history that took place at the same time we've got the prophets Nephi, Jacob, Enos, Jeremiah, Omni, and the others.
Well over 400 years.
Writing, well over 400 years of material.
In Doctrine and Covenants section 10, the Lord says, pick up where you left off at the beginning of the Book of Mosiah, about where King Benjamin's reign starts.
So it's titled the Lost Pages of the Book of Lehi, but it's really Lehi, Nephi, Jacob, and
the kings that were
down to the time of Benjamin.
We're doing that.
Since we're talking about years, it might help just to give a big picture here. The plates of brass here covered from the beginning, which would be somewhere around 4000 BC, down to the time of Jeremiah, that would be 600 BC. And then the plates of ether, they go from the time of the Tower of Babel, which would be about 2000 BC, down to the time of Coriantumr. We don't know, maybe 200 BC or so. Then the large plates, they were begun in 590, and they go down to the last battle in about 385. And then
AD, that is.
AD.
Begun 590 BC and 320
Yeah, it was about 1,000 years. Yeah, and then the small plates, they were begun after the large, and they go from about 570 down to King Benjamin at about 130. And then the plates that Joseph got, the gold plates, Mormon didn't live till about 300, so they're made sometime after that. And they're the compilation of all these, and they were buried in 421 AD.
Very helpful. Keith, could you talk about kind of the contents of the large plates? Just a brief, what we know was on the large plates.
Sure, we've got them right here. Let's open them up.
Easy to do.
Nephi, from time to time, will pause in his writing and just comment on this phenomenon that he's keeping two records. It's pretty apparent that he himself does not fully understand why, and he wants his readership to know that he's keeping these other records also. One of the best passages is in 1 Nephi chapter 9, and Nephi is very consistent in kind of the pronouns that he uses to describe the large plates versus the small plates, and the large plates are always referred to as the other ones. Okay, the one that he's not writing on, because see, we're reading in his writings from the small plates. So in the small plates, he's describing the large plates. Verse 2 is a good verse to start with. This is 1 Nephi 9, verse 2. And now, as I have spoken concerning these plates, behold, they are not the plates upon which I make a full account of the history of my people. For the plates upon which I make a full account of my people, I have given the name of Nephi. Wherefore they are called the plates of Nephi after mine own name, and these plates are called the plates of Nephi. Okay?
There's where it gets confusing.
Right, and so he says these, but if you just keep that
the
these as being very descriptive. So he says, I've written these other ones, they make a full account, is what he says in verse 2. Down in verse 4 he says, and upon the other plates, he keeps that same dichotomy, should be engraven an account of the reign of the kings and the wars and contentions of my people. Wherefore these plates are for the more part of the ministry. So there he divides them, and his express statement is that the large plates then contain the history and the accounts and the king's contentions of my people. So that would then say that from the original book of Lehi down through 4th Nephi, those are all accounts coming from, you might say, the fuller record, the things that keeps track of dates, keeps track of wars and contentions, who is king, and those things. All right.
Now we might just add verse 5. He said, "Wherefore the Lord hath commanded me to make these small plates for a wise purpose in him, which purpose I know not." So that was a test of Nephi's faith. He made these small plates. He didn't know what the wise purpose was, but we understand from the events that transpired, the wise purpose was to have the small plates replace the lost or the stolen 116 pages. But Nephi didn't know why. He just did it out of obedience.
Then 1,000 years later, Mormon says the same thing in the revelation. He gets to take Nephi's small plates and hook them to his abridgment of the large plates. I don't know why. It's the Lord's purpose. And so the omniscient Lord provides for us a wonderful Book of Mormon, despite the actions of Joseph Smith and Martin Harris, plus the conspirators who stole the pages from them.
Right. What would you add, Todd, to a description of the small plates? I mean, we've got, so the large plates being history, wars, secular history type of things about the kings and maintained by the secular leaders. Small plates, then...
Well, the kings basically kept the this record, and then the prophets kept this one. And one thing, again, if we go to 1 Nephi chapter 19, notice the date at the bottom of the page. It's about 590 BC. This is when he's told to make the second record. See, in 1 Nephi 19, "It came to pass, the Lord commanded me, wherefore I did make plates of ore, that I might engraven upon them the record of my people. And upon the plates which I made, I did engraven the record of my father." Skipping to verse 2, "I knew not at the time that I made them, that I should be commanded of the Lord to make these small plates." See, he was referring to the large.
Right.
"Wherefore the record of my father, the genealogy of his fathers, the more part of the proceedings in the wilderness, are engraven upon those first large plates of which I have spoken. Wherefore the things which transpired before I made these small plates are of a truth more particular, made mention upon the first plates or the large plates."
Right.
Then he adds to that, "And after I'd made these small plates by way of commandment, I, Nephi, received a commandment that the ministry, prophecies, more plain and precious parts of them should be written on these small plates. The things which were written should be kept for the instruction of my people." So these are small, those are large, in the record up till the time of Omni.
If our viewers are bewildered at this point, let's notice that the Book of Mormon itself is clear on this. It keeps track of these plates with really good clarity. If it's hard for us to keep track of it or explain it, that's not the fault of the book. Let's ask if Joseph Smith is the author of that. It's way too complex, and it's always internally consistent. The book does never make a mistake about confusing these plates or what comes from them. Joseph Smith is the translator of the Book of Mormon, by no means the creator of it.
And an interesting fact about that is they joke about it. Mark Twain joked about if the Book of Mormon, if you took "it came to pass," that would be reduced to a pamphlet. But the phrase "it came to pass" is used 198 times from 1 Nephi 1 to 2 Nephi 5:30 because he's writing about the past. And then he's caught up to date, and from 2 Nephi 5:31 to the end of 2 Nephi, he never uses "it came to pass." And the same is true with Moroni when he's abridging the plates of ether. When he's doing the past stuff, he says "it came to pass," but then you get to his writings, he doesn't use "it came to pass" because it's up to date.
It's current events.
It's consistent internally.